but it also teaches you life morals and the end result if you keep having your life go in this direction versus choosing that direction. And I think Hollywood is scared. Welcome back. It is yours truly, Nick, a Movie AV Impulse. And today's video is going to be a little bit different for top five. Now, what I wanted to do in this top five is really highlight hood movies that I grew up with that just don't see the light of day. Sure, you have your popular Boys in the Hood, you have your Menace to Society, you even have your Friday, a comedy hood classic. You have all these great movies, and these ones I just think never get talked about. They're never looked at in a respectable light, and it's time that we shed light on why not only do I think these are great movies, what they all have in common, which I will tell you at the end, and why I think we should just skip the Blu-rays and go straight to 4Ks. And if these movies really came out on 4K, I can guarantee you out of the five, at least four will literally clear off the shelves. That is, if you do the transfers right and you actually shed light on how magnificent these hood movies really are. So without any further ado, let's get into it. But you know, it's going to be right after this intro. And coming in at number five, while this is a talked about movie, I know I said in the intro these are rarely talked about, but I don't really remember people really calling this one out as a great hood movie. Because in this movie, if you want to break it down, I think this is one of Tupac's better roles, but everybody will give that to Juice. But in all, every movie that Tupac was in, he was actually really great. I mean, he went to acting classes and all of that. He took his craft very seriously. So coming in at number five is going to be Above the Rim. Now, this only has a DVD release and a VHS, of course. But I really want to see this done in a 4K. We did Juice, and I understand that Juice is the more popular one, but I think with having a 4K release on this great movie, there was such an underlying tone in this movie about two brothers really being rivals and kind of hating each other because one went in one direction and one went in another direction. And this really has one of those crazy endings that I didn't think was even going to end like that. I mean, it's just a powerful movie, and there's some great aspects in there. I feel like if Kino Lorber or Arrow or Umbrella, who's just starting to really dip into the 4K releases, they should really take this into consideration. And yes, I'm going to tag all of you labels under here because I think this is a great opportunity for you guys to start buying the rights up to these hood movies, because hood movies really mean a lot, not just to people who grew up in the ghetto, but as an overall inspiring story. Labels are so quick to just grab any horror movie up for grabs. All these boutique labels will grab these terrible, absolutely horrible horror movies and have no problem throwing it in their boutique lineup on their website and glorifying the hell out of it. But where are the hood movies that actually mean something to us? Actually mean something to people who go through everyday struggles. Coming in at number four, I've mentioned this movie over and over. This movie was just so powerful and inspiring. I've actually had one of these situations happen to me when I was younger. I just think it is just one of those great movies that is very, very, comes very highly recommended from me. but I never hear anybody else talk about it. I know I did turn somebody onto it, which is Vinicio over there, the horror cholo. I don't know if he's actually watched it yet, but number four is New Jersey Drive. This has such a great story to it, and it just shows you the struggle of, kids in New Jersey and, back then what they actually were doing. Heavy D makes a cameo, RIP. I really, you know, I guess we don't really appreciate our legends until they're gone. We really, really need a 4K release on this. Skip the Blu-ray because it doesn't even have that. This definitely needs a restoration, and I think it would sell out and do fantastic numbers. Coming in at number three, I did a top five underrated movies with my buddy Jerry, and he had mentioned this one, and we do talk about it a lot because this also has a very subtle undertone of just teaching great lessons, and that's going to be Dangerous Minds. That's number three. Dangerous Minds is such a powerful story about a teacher that comes into a high school that is just broken. They don't expect these kids to do anything. It's really a modern day Lean on Me type of movie, except you don't have a Mr. Clark principal. But it's a great movie, and that's another one I think would just blow up if we got a nice box set. Maybe get Michelle Pfeiffer to do an interview, a little, how she felt about making the movie. Get some of those other actors in there, and I think again a nice box set would just be so great. Will y'all just wake up? Somebody wake up. Arrow, Kino, Umbrella, wake up and look at these movies that I'm mentioning, please. Coming in at number two, now I know this has a Blu-ray release. It is long out of print, and you'll be lucky if you find one under $50. But I think that this movie is another really good movie, especially for the youth to really watch and see, because it will show them that you don't necessarily have to be a drug dealer. You can just be a drug runner, but still get into a lot of trouble for running those drugs. And that movie is going to be fresh. Such a slept on movie. A lot of people have never heard of this movie. And the DVD is relatively cheap. The Blu-ray, do not buy it. Do not spend $50 to $70 on a simple, bare bones Blu-ray. I get pissed off when people like Scream Factory or Shout Factory will put out these $30 Blu-rays and there's just nothing on it. There's no kind of nothing, and they barely put anything into the restoration on those. No disrespect, but sometimes you gotta put in that extra effort. Like, look what they did with Dr. Giggles, like $30. I'll just keep the DVD. Thanks again, Jerry, but I'll just keep the DVD, and I'll wait for that to go way down in price. Sorry about that. That was my little rant. And last but not least, coming in at number one, now this movie means a lot to a lot of people, and it's not that you haven't heard of this movie, it just doesn't get talked about enough because, again, you have movies like Boys in the Hood, and then you have movies like Menace to Society and Juice that take all this light and never share that light with all these other movies, and that's going to be Blood In, Blood Out. We desperately, desperately, desperately need a 4K release on this. And it has been so long since Blood In, Blood Out has come out, but there was such a remarkable story behind it. And it just basically takes place of two cousins who, well, it's a whole gang, and it's just such a powerful story. One goes to prison, and the other one kind of changes his life after he sees what happened to his other cousin, and he ends up becoming a cop slash detective. And then at the end, he has to make some really harsh decisions, and it is so powerful. Yes, I think it's like 3.5 hours long, but it is a remarkable movie. And if you've never seen Blood In, Blood Out, I believe the DVD is pretty cheap, but this really needs a 4K restoration, and I would be willing to pay $50-$60 for a beautiful box set and really, really give this movie its due. It's just due. It definitely deserves all of the light. That is going to be my number one pick. But anyways, if you got through this whole video, thank you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe, like, share, all the stuff that every other YouTuber tells you to do. But as for me, I just greatly appreciate all the supporters, all the love, and leave in the comments what hood movie did you think I left out that deserves a little bit more light, that deserves a 4K release. And please don't say Hustle and Flow, that's got a Blu-ray release, and we don't need any more of that than a Blu-ray. That movie, the reason why I didn't mention it is because it just doesn't appeal to me. It's just about a drug pimp rapper, wants to be a rapper, and just leave that movie out of it, please. Anything else though, let me know. Leave a comment down below, and I will see you on Sunday. Oh, and what is the underlying tone here? All of these movies really teach you a life lesson on not only, you know, what's the result of drug dealing? What's the result of drug running? What is the result of stealing cars? What is the result of being in a gang? But it also teaches you life morals and the end result if you keep having your life go in this direction versus choosing that direction. And I think Hollywood is scared, really scared, of releasing movies like this because they actually teach you lessons. You can argue all you want, but that's the way I feel it is. Because, like I said, they will release a horror movie with no kind of issues, and it could be a B movie of B movies, and they still will release that movie. No problem. I just don't get it. Anyways, I'll see you this Sunday.